The best biotech and pharmaceutical innovations mean nothing if they can't be protected and protected fast. Our next guest, Josh Goldberg, is solving this challenge as co-managing partner at Nath, Goldberg & Meyer, the #1 ranked patent law firm for biotech and pharmaceutical technologies. With nearly 3 decades of IP law experience and a unique background as a lab researcher, Josh brings an insider's understanding of how innovation actually happens. He's helped industry leaders like Amgen, Takeda, and GlaxoSmithKline turn breakthrough treatments into patent-protected portfolios, often in under a year instead of the typical 4-year timeline. Driven by a passion for focus and strategic IP timing, Josh shares his pioneering approach to biotech and pharmaceutical patent prosecution. Join us to discover how smart IP strategy drives licensing power, regulatory success, and company valuation. Let's go.
Welcome to Passionate Pioneers with Mike Biselli, where we highlight and speak with the innovators, the game changers, and the pioneers who are deeply passionate and relentless in solving the problems our world is facing today. This is your opportunity to connect with and learn from these leaders and to support them on their mission. Perhaps they will soon be hearing your story as well. This is Passionate Pioneers with Mike Biselli. I look forward to having you on this journey with us.
Hi, Josh. A big welcome to our podcast. I'm so excited to have you on today.
Thanks for hosting me, Mike. I'm real happy to be here and talk with you.
Well, given your extensive experience protecting breakthrough pharmaceutical innovations and your unique path from lab researcher to co-managing partner at the #1 ranked patent law firm for biotech and pharmaceutical technologies, I'm very excited and honored to have our conversation today. But before we dive in, a bit of housekeeping. While listening to any of our episodes, please take a moment to subscribe to the podcast so you will automatically receive episode updates in your podcast player. Simply search Passionate Pioneers with Mike Biselli on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And lastly, please visit the bottom of the episode notes to connect with me on LinkedIn and X in order to further the conversations occurring on this podcast. All right, Josh, it's almost time for our community to learn how you and the Nath, Goldberg, and Meyer team are helping innovation-driven pharmaceutical companies turn complicated technologies into protected assets in record time, from blockbuster treatments to climate and agriculture innovations. But first, what's that one piece of advice that you would give to others who are passionate about reimagining the health of our world?
One piece of advice would clearly be focus. And by focus, I mean, be clear, be direct, be deliberate. I've seen too many companies, too many people fail by trying to do everything at once. That is not the way to succeed and not the way to have an impact. You can start out small and grow from there.
So you're telling me you can't be all things to all people at all times?
I haven't figured it out yet, Mike. Sorry.
And it sounds like that'll be a podcast for another day. Should you figure that out, I think you'll be sitting on some real magical sauce there. But jokes aside, Josh, I couldn't agree more. And it's obviously evident in your work. We're going to discuss the incredible and storied career you've had with Nath, Goldberg, and Meyer, approaching 30 years now. What an incredible run. But of course, really, if you think about that, really reverts back to this focus that you just mentioned. Josh, is this important across the organization with your team members and your colleagues as well, to stay focused, stay the course, and be true to who you guys are, right? We just mentioned the #1 law firm. Obviously, that took a lot of focus. Is this part of the culture as well inside the organization?
Oh, 100%. It's a matter of knowing who we are and sticking with that. So many law firms want to be everything to all people, like you say. And, one of the things we do not do is litigation. We're not a litigating law firm. Whenever anybody approaches me asking me to help them with litigation, the answer is always the same. I'm sorry, I can't help you. It's just not what we do. It's not our DNA. We know what we do. We know what we're good at, and we stick to it. Our clients are happy we stick to it.
But we're going to discuss those clients and the things that you guys have driven for quite some time now in the marketplace, getting that #1 position and really being a leader and really helping continue to move innovation along in our industry. We're going to discuss that focus and so much more after we get back from thanking our community champion sponsor. Healthcare faces a paradox that echoes through generations. While the current practices that help heal patients today are vital, it is crucial to evaluate them through an environmental lens. OSHA's Responsible for Tomorrow initiative is a collection of interviews featuring influential thought leaders and industry experts like you who share their sustainability strategies, insights, and provide valuable perspectives from diverse industries to inspire innovation within the healthcare sector. OSER invites you to join this journey. Want to share your sustainability story? OSER is actively looking for partners to highlight the important and inspiring work being done around the globe. Check out OSER's Responsible for Tomorrow initiative and series at OSER.com. That's OSSUR.com. Or visit the episode notes and click on their link. Together, and with OSER helping lead the way, let's all be responsible for tomorrow.
All right, we are back with Josh Goldberg, co-managing partner at Nath, Goldberg & Meyer. Josh, thank you so much. You really set the stage on the front end. We need to stay focused. That's exactly what you and the team have done for year after year after year. We're going to discuss that. It has been a storied journey for yourself at the organization. Been there now, like I said, on the front end of this, almost 30 years. We're going to discuss how it all came to be in the first place. How'd you find out about the organization? How'd you join? Take us behind those scenes, of course. And then we got to discuss current state. How are you guys really positioning yourselves, and how do you guys continually, time and time again, position yourselves as number one in the marketplace, how it's going in the marketplace, where you're seeing things really, continue to move forward. Innovation is changing and moving so fast right now, as you know, Josh. How are you guys helping continue to fuel that and, of course, protect that as we continue to move forward and moving our industry along? And then we need to hear from you on what you're seeing in that crystal ball, if you will. What's on the horizon with all this significant change? What should we be mindful of given your expertise in the field? And then, of course, we can't let you out of here until we can figure out how to be helping you out as well. But, of course, before we get all through all of that, Josh, let's go back in the time machine a bit. How did you join the Nath, Goldberg & Meyer in the first place? How did it all come to be?
Sure. Well, to start out, I consider myself first and foremost a non-practicing scientist at this point in my life. So I have a chemical engineering degree. I worked in industry for 2 years or so doing drug composition work, making tablets, capsules, coatings, things like that. And among the very, very many things I learned while doing that was I'm not on this earth to be a bench chemist. So looking around, what can I do with my engineering degree, my engineering background? What else is there? I remember talking with professor I had at university who wasn't even in my major. He taught a class called the internal combustion engine because I'm a car guy. And he would tell us stories about his patent lawyer buddy who had his ranch out in Colorado with his private helicopter to get there and his dozen or so fancy cars. And I'm thinking to myself, gee, this sounds like something I can do. So I went to law school to become a patent lawyer. Now, I don't have the ranch. I don't have a helicopter, and if I did, I wouldn't go in it because I'm scared of heights. And my fancy car is a Honda Civic Hybrid, if you can believe it. But it's all worked out well. And what happened was I got into law school, and it's different mentality, a different way of thinking than you're used to as a scientist. When you're a scientist, there's always a right answer. 2 + 2 = 4. Nothing's going to change that. When you get to law school, they're not looking for 2 + 2 = 4. They're looking for, how do you decide that 2 + 2 = 4? What goes into it? So it really was a big education that first year for me. Not that it was hard once I figured it out, but to figure it out took some doing. And like everybody else in law school, I sent out a whole bunch of resumes looking for summer work. I was getting very nervous because it was the week before finals. I'm here sitting here studying for my finals, and I still don't really have a paying job lined up for the summer. And I get a phone call to my apartment that my then roommate answered. He answers the phone going, yep, it was the hiring manager at then Nath & Associates, who almost hung up on my roommate because she didn't like the way he answered the phone. But instead, she asked for me. So he gave me the phone. I said, well, yeah, I'm studying for finals, but sure, I can spare a little bit of time to come in and interview. Thinking to myself, well, I need a job. Of course I can spare the time. So I go down the next day and I spend 8 hours at the law firm interviewing with everybody there. It was a small shop at the time. Before I left, they had offered me a job for the summer with what they called a small hourly wage. And I'm thinking to myself, if you're giving me an hourly wage, this is fabulous. So I made it through finals, started working in May, and I spent my summer writing patent applications for new cancer drugs and new nerve growth drugs. At the time, I didn't think my organic chemistry skills were all that special, but apparently there was nobody at the firm who could name all the compounds we were working with better than I could. So they just kept giving me more and more. And, from there to now being at the top of the rung, it's been a very interesting ride.
What a heck of a journey. Thank goodness somebody was there to answer the phone that day. And luckily, your roommate knew well enough to hand it over to you when the phone call came in. That is unbelievable. It's incredible. I love it. What a great story, Josh, and having that expertise invaluable, like you said, to where you are today. And of course, being able to understand your customers and your clients and how they're thinking about the world and being able to understand their language and understand where they're coming from, kind of being that scientist that you were historically speaking. But of course, now, Josh, here you are as the co-managing partner at the #1 ranked patent law firm for biotech and pharma, 2 years running now. What does the organization do differently that allows you to outperform larger firms across the country?
It's really a matter of listening to our clients and understanding what they want and need. I know I have a lot of friends at various law firms around the country, some who like where they work, some who like where they work a little less. But it seems to me like there seems to be a bit of a one-size-fits-all approach in many law firms. And that's not who we are at all. We really want to know who our clients are, who our potential clients are, what they're looking for, how they like things done, what special needs they have, and steering right into those. If we do that, I think we have a happy client. We are getting them good patent protection. And quite frankly, this is where the magic comes in. They start referring us to all of their friends and colleagues. Hey, you're looking for help to protect yourself. I know this great firm. I know this great lawyer. You really should give them a call.
Well, let's go there, right? Because that's so important. It is this trusted network, as well as I do, especially with this type of work we're discussing here today. One of the areas that I'm sure catches a lot of your clients' eye and attention, and of course, then they turn and talk to their friends as a referral network, if you will, is you and your team have compressed patent timelines from 4 years to under 1 year for many of your clients. That's unbelievable. Can you walk us through how you've achieved this and why does speed matter so much in today's landscape?
Sure. Well, to answer the first question, how we've achieved it, there is a program that our patent office has that every time you file a patent application, you have to pay a fee for the privilege of having it examined. Normally, you pay your fee, you get examination 2 to 4 years, and you get a patent at the end of it. It's a long process. We figured out that the patent office has a program called the Track 1 program, where if you give the patent office, the U.S. government, some extra money, because as we all know, the government likes to collect its fees, they're going to advance you to the front of the line, meaning you are guaranteed to get through your examination, your entire first round of examination within 1 year. It's no guarantee you're going to get a patent. You still need to meet all the normal requirements, but you are guaranteed to be through the process in 1 year. Now, if you're a large company, that extra fee is on the order of $4,000 or $5,000, which adds up pretty quickly. If you're a smaller company, a startup, a university, you pay 40% of that. It still adds up, but every single person I've mentioned it to at a university, at a startup, they ask, oh, what's the extra cost? And I tell them, like, that's all? To go from 4 years to 1 year, that's all I need to pay extra? Sign me up. So why is that important? What are the benefits? Well, a few things. And since I know a lot of your listeners are in that startup entrepreneurial mentality, every time you're out there looking for funding, looking for a partner, looking to pitch, one of the first questions you're going to be asked is, what's your IP position? Why is that? Why is that such an important question? Why are people so interested? Well, you have to step back and think, who is it you're talking to? You're talking to venture capitalists. You're talking to angel investors. Anybody who has money, of course, they want to play around with it. They can afford it, but they don't want to take unnecessary risks. That's how they got that money in the first place. So when they're looking for companies to invest in, they're less concerned, in my mind, in my experience, with the actual technology that's involved and much more concerned with how risky is it? What are the chances that they're going to get their money back, let alone make a profit? If you know early on that, hey, this is patent protected, I can protect my eventual market for whatever it is I'm going to be selling, that suddenly becomes much less risky for the potential investor, for the potential partner, because they know at that point they have an avenue to keep competition away and keep your sales up. It's that simple. Not only that, but if you are interested in worldwide protection, filing around the world, after you file your U.S. patent application, you have 1 year before you need to start making some of those decisions. Where else do I file? Or do I file at all in other places? Yes, there are other pathways, but you still need to know something within 1 year. If within 1 year you know that, hey, at least the U.S. Patent Office thinks that they're going to give me a patent on this, I think, and most of the people I work with think, it's much more valuable to know that and say, hey, there's something here. This has some legs to it, and actually go forward with that technology, with that platform, rather than a different one, which is iffy. I talked about focus at the very, very beginning. Of course, you throw a lot of darts at the board just to see what sticks, but at some point you have to choose, which is the first one? Which am I going to advance first? Which am I going to work on first? If you know that you have 1 out of 4 that already has a patent, well, that's a clear sign that maybe I should be paying attention to this one.
Love that. Great feedback. And I know our community tuning in, very, very helpful, especially many of them are on exactly this journey as well, Josh. So thank you for that. In regards to, many of these CEOs and investors, as you mentioned, they're making decisions and timing and spending mistakes with pharmaceutical IP. What are you seeing as the most common and maybe even the most costly mistake out there, and how companies can avoid it?
Well, the most costly mistake, and this is going to sound silly perhaps, is simply going back to the beginning, looking at the researchers, whether they're scientists, whether they're professors, whatever it is, and are they following the right pathway to go through whatever rules, procedures the company has to keep their IP on track and protectable, or are they going to follow the typical professor mentality of publish or perish? Why does that matter? Disclosure kills patent rights. In most of the world, if I publish an article today disclosing my new cancer drug, I can no longer get a patent on it, period. Here in the US, I still have the possibility, but now my 1 year clock is ticking. Meaning if I don't file within 1 year from that publication, I have no chance of getting a patent. I've donated it to the world. It's out in the public domain. That is the single biggest mistake I see people, companies make. It seems silly, it seems easy, and yet it keeps happening over and over and over.
Well, good to keep in mind for the folks tuning in that are in this, in this world and the things that you are working on. That's very, very good counsel and insight, of course, there, Josh. Thank you for that. And of course, we also talked about this on the front end. You are definitely known as the, quote, green patent guy for your climate and agricultural IP work. But of course, you also lead, pharmaceutical patent kind of protection and work there as well. How do you see the intersection of all these fields evolving, especially with biotech solutions addressing environmental challenges?
That's a really interesting question. And in fact, I was talking about a different aspect of this with someone earlier today. I think back to when I started in this profession 28 years ago. Almost every invention I would see, every disclosure, was a single technology, a pharmaceutical, a solar panel, a widget to do whatever it is. That's not the case anymore. Now I am seeing a lot of technologies come across my desk that involve multiple disciplines. AI is applied to drug discovery. A solar panel that the coating that you put on the outside of it, the chemical composition of it is very important, and the way it interacts with the voltages that go through. So you need some of that electrical knowledge and some of that chemical knowledge. These are things that are recurring over and over again. I keep seeing it. Probably about half of the disclosures I get now have multiple scientific technologies in them. It's very different from how it was before.
What exactly is driving that? Is it the advent of kind of an amalgamation of different innovations coming to life at the same time? Why is that?
I think it's because a lot of the technologies, as they're becoming more robust, people are having new and different ideas as to how they can do things. I also think you're seeing increased collaboration from the science side, where, for example, if you're at a university and you're in the materials lab, you're going to be more likely to talk to your physics friends at the university than you maybe used to be 20 years ago. It's very much encouraged these days. And even between different organizations, a university and a company, we're seeing a lot of these public-private partnerships now. The more people that get involved in any one project, the more different perspectives you have, and the more opportunities to create some of these cross-platform technologies that, quite frankly, are so much farther advanced than we had in the past that it really is a good thing. It's more challenging to protect and understand because we all have our main science background. It means that we have to collaborate more with each other too.
Let's also talk about kind of where you are helping, these companies, entrepreneurs, small to large companies. It doesn't really matter, but the question really applies to all of them. And it's this notion of creating value, right? Not only for the company, but maybe for the shareholders or wherever they might be on the kind of evolution of an organization. Let's discuss beyond just a kind of a defensive protection position. Josh, you've emphasized that smart pharma IP drives licensing and valuation strategy. Can you share an example where strategic patent positioning transformed a company's negotiating power or exit value?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So this is, let's see, how far back am I going now? Let's call it about 18 years or so. We had a new client that came to the firm. It was a specialty skincare company. Everything they did was topicals or an oral product for treating acne or something like that. And what happened was the company was divided where they had one brother who operated the U.S. division, another brother who operated the international division. The brother who operated the international division was older and unfortunately died and kept very poor records. So when the company came to us, the very first project we did for them was doing research so we could tell them what patent rights did they own because they did not know. Yes. Okay. Once we did that, and again, this was a specialty company, specialty pharma company, all dealing with topicals, dermatological issues. They were about a $250 million company at the time. They told us that within 4 years, they wanted to sell for $1 billion. Okay. That's a big ask, 4 times in 4 years, 4x. And they told us that the way they saw getting there was with the value of their IP. Now, it took us 6 years, but they eventually sold for $1.5 billion to Big Pharma. Yes, we got them where they wanted to go above it. Again, took a little longer, but we developed a wide variety of portfolios for them, all sorts of topical drugs, topical delivery forms, foams, creams, lotions, whatever it is. Bought some companies for them, all that, to where they had such a robust portfolio, it was worth the money for Big Pharma to acquire them.
What an absolutely black and white example of the value that can be created when you get to collaborate with a guy like yourself, Josh. Unbelievable. Wow. And hey, I'll take an additional 2 years to drive the valuation in another $500 million. I think that's a good, a good and fair trade-off.
That's for sure.
I'm sure. Actually, 2 years can go quite quick, especially if you're staring down an additional $500 million of value creation. So I would sign up for that any day for sure. And then, of course, we do need to look at a little forward looking here, Josh. You know as well as I do, lots of things are changing rapidly and will continue to do so. So as we look a little future state, looking at this current regulatory environment and really some of this recent patent office guidance, what's one emerging trend in the pharmaceutical patent prosecution that innovators should be preparing for right now?
Well, there's one that actually I've written a little bit about on LinkedIn. I used to do a lot of diagnostic work. developing, patenting diagnostic tools, kits, whatever it is for clients. And 10-ish years ago, our Supreme Court, in their illustrious wisdom, basically made it impossible to get a diagnostic patent granted. Now, I say basically because, of course, nothing's impossible, but they really, really stacked the deck against anybody who was in the diagnostic field. We now have a new director of patents at the USPTO for roughly a month now. His name is John Squires. And one of the first things he did was patents come out every Tuesday. That's just how it is. They're published every Tuesday by the U.S. Patent Office. The first Tuesday, once he was voted in and accepted and sworn in and all that, he put his signature on his first 2 patents as the director, because every patent has the signature of the director. Usually it's a stamp, but he personally signed these 2. One of them was a diagnostic patent. And he made a big announcement that the patent office is now open for business again. I am taking this as a sign that maybe the diagnostic field is coming back. I'm very hopeful for that. And given what we've seen the past 5-6 years, I think there is a real need for more diagnostic technologies, kits out there that is being not very well addressed at the moment.
Okay, good to know, and to keep that on the horizon for sure. Thank you for that as well, Josh. So let's now also bring it back to a little bit of current state. Of course, we love to be able to help out our amazing guests just like yourself. What is one problem, need, or question that you and your team have that our community can help you with?
Well, quite frankly, like you mentioned, I do a lot of work with the pharmaceuticals, agriculture, renewables, sustainables. I'm looking for people who are out there, particularly in the agriculture and sustainable areas, that really don't quite know how to get from where they are to where they want to go. They have a good idea of what the end result is, but they don't know what they don't know, and they need help. Those are the type of people I love speaking with. Even if I'm not the right person to help them, I'm sure I know the person who is. But I wouldn't know that until we have that conversation. So if your listeners know of anybody like that who really needs that assistance, that's what I'm all about.
Well, I do know one thing. They should not contact you if they are looking for litigation. We know that. We learned that on the front end.
That's right. Absolutely.
Got to keep focused, right? But I'm sure you know a guy where they can help them out.
Oh, I know a guy, all right. You know, my cousin Vinny down the street, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, that's episode 2. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for that, Josh. And of course, we'll certainly have our community having the episode notes, those contacts for you. How do they get a hold of you? Social media handles, websites, or otherwise? Where should they be looking for you online?
Well, you can certainly find me on LinkedIn. I'm there regularly, as well as going to my firm website, www.naflaw.com. Those are typically the 2 easiest ways to find me.
Easy enough. And again, for our listening community, just scroll on into your favorite podcast player where you're accessing this episode and go into the episode notes. Those contact points for Josh and the team will be there. Of course, you can head over to our free global online community over at passionatepioneers.com. There will be a post for this episode. Those contact points will be there as well. And you can leave any comments, feedback, suggestions, or otherwise, again, over at passionatepioneers.com. Josh, what a wonderful, wonderful conversation. But of course, to wrap it all up, we got to fill in the blank for you. It's a fill in the blank that goes just like this. I'm a passionate pioneer because
I love living in the future, and I want to help people continue to live in the future.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome. What a wonderful way to wrap all of this up today, Josh. Thank you so much for your time and spending it with our community. I know how valuable and invaluable these types of conversations are, as we have a lot of innovators really pushing our industry forward. They are needed now more than ever. And to have leadership and help from folks just like yourself, these are how we're going to get to those new frontiers and those new horizons. So thank you for spending time with our community today, Josh. We're wishing you nothing but the best, and we look forward to staying in touch. But for now, thanks again for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Mike. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you for joining us today on Passionate Pioneers with Mike Biselli. We'd love to hear your feedback about the podcast so we can continue to improve this community and to further support the pioneers being featured. Lastly, please take a moment to subscribe to the podcast and invite your friends and colleagues to join us. This is Passionate Pioneers with Mike Biselli. I look forward to having you back with us during our next episode.